Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Anbiya wal Mursaleen wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. Today we are going to discuss this Islamic wills and inheritance planning, and there has been a sustained campaign from the charities UK and social leaders and ulama to raise awareness of the possibility of incorporating Islamic wills into the British succession laws or uh, English inheritance system. Yeah? And Alhamdulillah, for the last 15 to 20 years, if you can see the first ethical in partnership with Ibrahim College, they have been delivering in many major mosques the awareness raising campaign about this issue. Because if this issue is in Islamic, this issue is moral, and this issue is tax, and this issue is legal, and this issue is vital for the survival and sustainability of the Muslim community and future generations. So let us start Sharia and inheritance. This is the outline of today's presentation. UK inheritance law, Sharia and inheritance, UK inheritance tax system, Islamic wills and inheritance solutions. So the way the scenario has developed, many, and then summary at the end, inshallah, and some guidelines for practical doing certain things. And there has been a steady progress to the extent that during the last 10 years, British Law Society, along the Solicitors Regulating Authority body, self-regulating body, they published in 2014 a guidance and best practice manual for all the solicitors, Muslims and non-Muslims, because inheritance is bequest, inheritance, will, estate planning, or succession. These are the different words used for describing. And inshallah, you will see that this is part of the Islamic financial system. During lifetime, there is a allocation resources and halal earnings and halal expenditure, and then distribution of income and risk and reward, and then charity, sadaqah, and other benevolence giving. And then at the end of the day, all the accumulated assets for the lifelong, the estate is also passed on to the heirs and to the charity, to the community in various ways, in perfect harmony with British legal system and Islamic Sharia system. Yeah. So let us see the importance. Yeah. Sorry, what is this here? So there is a hadith, Ma haqqu imra'in muslimin an yabita laylataini illa wa wasiyatuhu maktubatun indahu. This is hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari, and Kitabul Wasiya is in every hadith books. Yeah? And even in Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Kutiba alaykum idha hadara ahadakum al-mawtu in taraka khayran al-wasiyatu lil-walidain wal-aqrabina bil-ma'rufi haqqan al-muttaqin. So in general terms, having a will and wasiya, if you own an asset which needs to be distributed among your heirs. This was necessity before the ahkam. I mean, according to Hanafi school of thought, the writing wasiya was obligatory before Surah An-Nisa ayat, which gave everyone their rights. So before Surah An-Nisa's ayat, Yusikumullahu fi awladikum, definitely ahkamul warasat coming for like so many years in Medina. This instruction and these guidelines was prevailing. And there is another hadith: a man may do good deeds for 70 years, but if he acts unjustly when he leaves his last testament, the wickedness of his deed will be sealed upon him, and he will enter the fire. If on the other hand, a man acts wickedly for 70 years, but is just in his last will and testament, the goodness of his deed will be sealed upon him, and he will enter the garden. Because in the Quran, what it is that because the inheritance is the largest asset allocation in one's lifetime or end of life. So being right and wrong in that has a long-term consequences. Yeah. So it's like one sadaqah jariyah, we know that perpetual continuous good deed. So it could be a, 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 like perpetual injustice, we can say. Like sadaqah, instead of sadaqah, it's like a liability of jariyah liability. If you misallocate and leave a will which does injustice and creates problem among the heirs. There are two hadiths and some Quranic ayat, general ayat about the leaving a will. Mean, do not leave it undecided. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala many times says in the Quran that some people leave it to the last moment, and when it comes last moment, they say, "Oh Allah, I give everything in charity. Oh Allah, forgive me," things like that. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, the last moments thing is not really uh, not really a valid thing. So let us start in the Sharia. I mean, in the Sharia, our Prophet ﷺ has positively encouraged for us to learn the science of Sharia, especially the terms, matters of inheritance and distribution. تعلموا الفرائض وعلموها الناس فإني مقبوض. Yeah. Oh people, learn your will writing and inheritance distribution, because I'm gonna no longer be there, and this knowledge will be the very rarest knowledge, and two people will get into quarrel and they will not find easily any person who can decide for them in the matters of inheritance. So learning the inheritance ahkam is very, very important. Ta'allamul ilmu allimuha. Sometimes it says nisful ilm, half of the knowledge. Yeah? I mean, I'm not bringing all the Arabic texts because they are available there on the net. But there is a general rule that whatever estate one has built up, on living house or external shares and other things, or savings or properties, uh, one Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given لَقَدْ أَعْطَى اللَّهُ لِكُلِّ وَارِثٍ حَقَّهُ فَلَا وَصِيَّةَ لِوَارِثٍ is the commandment, that Allah has given due shares to each and every blood relatives and the extended relatives. So one is not allowed now to do any will in terms of giving them wishful shares as and when one wishes. Yeah. So you can leave unspecified, and then the Sharia rules will take over, that it will be distributed according to Sharia as it's in the Quran. Or you have the option that after deducting all the debts and your liabilities, any net assets left, you can allocate 1/3 to non-heirs and 2/3 is to the heirs, I mean those who are near and blood relatives, offspring, wife, husband, and parents. Yeah? So this is the general after death and funeral expenses. This is the how it goes, but it's not necessary to leave 1/3 to non-heirs. It's just optional. Optional. Charities or relatives not entitled, and to non-Muslim relatives also, like if there is a situation. Yeah? General principles. Yeah. So Sharia law is the, I mean, a specific share is coming in the next few slides. Yeah. Uh, but these are the general rule of thumb. Gifts of 1/3 are optional, not necessary. I have stated that this. Any amounts up to 1/3 can be bequeathed to non-heirs. And Surah An-Nisa, ayat number 11 and 12, specify 2/3 or more to be split between fixed share inheritors and residuary inheritance. Like anything which is left over after giving the fixed share, whatever is left over is given to others. Yeah? Fixed share inheritance are those who have a specified percentage in the i.e. husband, wife, parents, and children. Yeah, offsprings. Residuary inheritors are those who share the remaining balance of the estate, i.e. sons and daughters. And in the absence of sons and daughters, it will be brothers and sisters. The question is, for the funeral expenses, must that come from the wealth of the deceased person, or can somebody else pay for another funeral expenses? No, this is not necessary, but it can be deducted, from the deceased person's assets. But if one of the heirs or anybody third party wants to donate, and they are at will, yeah? It's not necessary, but it's like because in UK, uh, haven't you seen the advertisement for over 50 insurance? There is a bombardment of the advertisement on the main channels about leaving the family worse off for funeral expenses and things like that. So the insurance companies are promoting a lot. Because in UK, the funeral expenses, a couple of £1,000, is not easy. Any heirs or any other persons to donate. Everybody is not, just reserved at that time. Of course, and that's why the insurance companies are saying that the elderly, they should take care of themselves. And of course, it is taken care that it is a part of liabilities. Debts, funeral expenses are part of liabilities. Okay. So this is Surah An-Nisa, ayat number 11. Yusikumullahu lidhakari mislu hadzil unsayayn. فإن كن نساء فوق اثنتين فلهن الثلث ما ترك ولأبويه لكل واحد منهما السدس Walakum nisma taraka azwajikum. It's long ayat, yeah? Surah Nisa, ayat number 11. But the thing is that the distribution should be done. Distribution should be done after the payment of the bequests that may have made, bequeathals that he may have made, or debts that he may have had. Your parents and offspring, you do not know which among them are nearest to you in benefit. These shares are an ordinance imposed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah is knowing, and all wise. Okay, so this is the basis, and then the next ayah is also some details, and we are going to work it out in our worked examples here. for us to do. And they receive 1/4 of which you leave if you have no children. وَلَهُنَّ رُبُعُ مِمَّا تَرَكْتُمْ إِن لَّمْ يَكُن لَّكُمْ وَلَدٌ. And if you have children, they receive 1/8 of what you leave after payment of any bequest. So the question is it then recommended in Islam that we purchase a burial plot, funeral expenses now, as it costs quite a lot, to make it easier for your family after you have this? So both options are there. Many people have bought the plots, but we do not know whether where we are going to die, here or in Southeast Asia or there and here. So it will be like one should maintain really some cash saving also beside the tangible assets. Yeah? That will be like some cash which can be used automatically. Yeah. So ayat number 11 and 12, I mean, very, very clear about how many shares in what situations. Ashabul Furuz, Ashabul Asabat, and things like that. Yeah? I mean, I'm not going to go into detail because we will learn it based on our examples. Yeah. So key rules: wife receives 1/8 or 1/4 if husband stays with or without children respectively. So with children 1/8, without children 1/4. Yeah. That is the summary of the previous ayah. Husband receives 1/4 or half of wife's estate with or without children respectively. So if there are children, then 1/4. If there are no children, then half. Yeah. By the way, the British rule is also that the wife or other husband, spouse receives others half of share anyway, irrespective of children are there or not. Yeah, that is the British rule. Number 3, mother and father receives 1/6 each if client has children. If there are children, then parents of deceased will receive 1/6. If the client is saying here, client no children, then mother gets 1/3. Yeah. So like mother gets a big share. Yeah. If someone has died and there's a wife and children and parents also, so parents receive collectively 1/6. Yeah. If there are children, and if there are not children, then they receive 1/3 of the estates. Yeah. That is a 1/6 mean how, I mean, in percentage you can work it out. 100 divided by 1/6 will be some 33, 60, some percentage. Yeah. Mother and father, and this is their collective shares. Yeah, not individual shares. Mother and father both, or if one of them. Warisahu abawaho. So if parents are there, so mother will get 1/3 and father will get 1/3. Vain kana lahu ikhwatun fali ummihi sudus. But if there are like other siblings, not children but sibling, then 1/6 to the mother. Yeah, you see we have that. I mean, these are all. If you are interested, I didn't want to confuse you because all the different scenarios are too many possibilities, and there are charts and diagrams. If you are interested in Arabic or in English, I have got the diagram. Yeah, inshallah. So like eventualities, sons get twice what daughters receive of the residual estate after the fixed share of inheritance receive their share. So if there are only children and wife or husband, then the wife and husband, they get their respective share and rest is divided among the children. That's it, in the ratio of 2:1. Okay. You will understand properly when we give 1 or 2, 3 examples, but there are like numerous examples, and it is like a big mathematical science to be learned to cater for every eventualities and intergenerational distributions. Yeah? If two or more daughters exist, they receive 2/3 of the estate. One daughter alone receives half of the estate. Yeah, this is the scenarios when there is no sons, just only daughters. Yeah, it's called kalala here in the Quran. There is a special terminology for that Quran. These are the summary of these previous two ayat, 5 points. Yeah. So let us see the examples of. Sorry, I can't see the heading. Some key practical examples. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Key rules we have done. So practical example number 1. Let's see. Yeah. Practical example number 1. Imran marries to Rehana. Imran passes away with his mother still living and one child, a boy. Yeah. This is simplest issue. Yeah. So Imran is the deceased person. M is mother. R is what's called the Rehana wife's name, and then S is the son. Yeah? So let us see. According to Quranic ayah, mother will get 1/6, which is 4 of 24. I mean, these are the percentage shares expressed in the division. Wife will get 1/8, which is this, and son will get the residual. Yeah, residual, which is 17 over 24. Yeah? So you can see that 1/8 is like 12.5%. 1/6 will be little bit higher, maybe 15%. We can, and then the rest will be given to son. So this is the non-percentage wise share, which we can convert into the percentage. So like we make 100 divided by 24, which is like nearly 4 point something. Yeah, 100 divided. So each share will each share number represent the percentage. Yeah? Those of you who have done mathematics, if you want, I can precisely give you now. If you want to make a note, these were the traditional pre-calculator era methods of calculating. Yeah, because the residual by definition is the rest of. Yeah. So if there was no offspring, only wife and mother, yeah, then, and there was no children, yeah, not at all, then what will happen? This residual 17 over 24 will go to the siblings. Yeah. Is it? I think now it should be clear. So let me just work it out in percentage time. 100 divided by 24 equals 4.1. So mom will get 4 times 4, which is 4 times 16, which is 16 and 16 points something. Yeah, and then wife will get 12 point something, 12 point something, and then the rest will be, so 12 and 16 will go to mother and wife, and the rest to the son. And in the absence of son and daughters, it will go to the siblings in the ratio of 2 to 1. Yeah, this is the key. I mean, 6-year inheritance and the residual inheritance. This is okay. I'm just looking if there is any question. Why is the husband share much higher than wife? I mean, do I need to explain why husband get the share of the lion's share and men and women's income differences? I mean, that's because male and female ratios are like this in this. So husband and wife will get similar ratios. Mean 2 to 1. So husband and wife, because what is assumed according to the non-British culture. In British culture, husband and wife both are earning, so the scenario has changed. So traditionally, it will be, this is to do with the estates which has exclusively been earned and accumulated by husband. Yeah. So wife's share is as a dependent share, and husband gets more from the wife's share. Mean, if wife has her own earning, so being the breadwinner and the father of the children, uh, he has double share because of the responsibilities around him on behalf of the children. Another example is Jamil marries Rizwana. Jamil passes away with no mother, but two children and a boy and a girl. Yeah, simple. These are the vanilla type scenarios. Yeah, wife and children. Yeah, so wife will get 1/8 according to Quran, which is 3/24, and then the rest is sons and daughter, two to one. Yeah, so daughter will get half and son will get double of the. So remainder 87 point, 1/8. So here is very easy. 1/8 is 12.5, which is 78.5. Remainder will go 2 to 1 ratio. Yeah. So it's same percentage, 4.16 times 7, 4.16 times 14, 4.16 times 3. Yeah, of the total estates. So these are just for you to understand the interplay of the different people. And this Tuesday, I made a public presentation on this topic on Islam channel, and there was so many urgent questions because I made it urgent, and people keep leaving it to the last moment and never decide many things. So. Uh, uh, my policy has been never to entertain this type of answer and question over the phone, and I always require people to submit in writing, and I give them in writing. Okay, so if you understand this, and I can show you the total full map of inheritance, each one shares, and then interplay of them. If you're interested, I can give you in Arabic and English both. I have got the charts, 1 page summary of everything. Yeah, but that will be too maybe too complicated for you without understanding all the interdelicacy of like this. Yeah, simple vanilla cases, let us understand it. Then the complex cases should go to the expert to decide it. Yeah. Okay, let us understand the UK inheritance law. Yeah. Tax can be levied on death regardless of whether a will is in place or not. That is like a wealth gain or whatever you can call inheritance tax. Yeah? Is tax liable, but there are thresholds. Tax payable at 40% on the assets above NRB. I don't know what it mean threshold. Yeah, above the threshold, which is changing every budget year. Yeah. So the example here is like 10-year-old. So you can check it on Treasury website, the current threshold or exemption. Yeah. NRB currently stands at 300,000. This was 10 years ago. Yeah. But I think this at this time is around 400 or 385 or something. Yeah. So like none, I don't know what is the NRV. You can check it with the Google, but it is like a threshold, mean minimum, and most nil rate ban. Sorry. So it's like a nisab, in zakat. So what has happened during last 10 years? Really, the prices of houses have shot up in London. So and London and Southeast has like more than a million, like more than 1/3 of the population of Muslims, and most of them are above the NRB nil band rate. Yeah, mean above. So everybody is now in the net of being taxed. Yeah. So whether there is a will or not, the tax liability is there. and if you don't mitigate it, your heirs will be out of pocket before they get anything. Yeah, so they have to arrange some tax payment before they can lay their hand on it. System can be complete at odd with Sharia. Can be, yeah. It's not necessarily to be because of tax. But what I can say that tax is really like a debt. Yeah, dega or wasiya. Min ba'di wasiyatin or min ba'di ma addaytum, you know, quru- dain, ay dain. Yeah. Tax is dain. Yeah. So law of intestacy. Yeah. Oh, these are there are so many terminologies. If you intestacy. Yeah. So there are like half a dozen different words really, which make up this whole subject. Any jointly owned assets, i.e., family home, pass automatically to surviving partners, husband and wife. Yeah. So this is the law. Yeah. The British law. And if this law is there, that means the before inheritance law comes into Sharia law comes to play, the wife is the owner of 50%. Yeah, or husband is the owner of 50%, and the wasiya is only valid into the rest of the other 50%. Yeah. For assets owned in sole name, first 125,000 is settled to wife. I mean, these are the British rules. This solicitor will explain to you. And half balance of the estate in trust with wife having right to income. So these are like if there are trust and family assets are locked, declared through the trust. State in trust with wife having right to income. Yeah. So if wife has the right to income in a trust, which is the tax arrangement really. So these are the local laws. Remaining balance in trust for children if under 18. Yeah. So these are the trust laws which comes to, and most of the lawyers who advise on Islamic will they also know this trust law and how to balance it for the best benefit for the heirs. Okay, laws of intestacy still. Distribution not in accordance with Islam, of course. The government law is government law. Half of state capital tied up until the wife dies. Yeah. So yeah. So the will cannot come into force until wife dies according to Islamic. Yeah. According to the British law, but according to Islamic law, wife does not have that law. So that's mean the law of the land will take over for the protection of wife, and there is nothing wrong with this, yeah, because the wife has the right of residency. Remaining balance may be held in trust for children if under 18. Yeah, so that is the no tax, not tax efficient. This type of the intense is this situation. Yeah. Okay. So this was intestacy law, which is like in the absence of will, these will be taken into account and in full the courts. But let us see the inheritance tax. Inheritance tax for a single person, any asset valued at the nil band rate are taxable at 40% on that year. So you can check the nil rate band. Uh, For example, an individual total assets, including their home, are worth 450,000. The first 300,000 are exempt from tax, and the remainder 150,000 pay tax at rate of 40, which is 60,000. So you understand now that any asset above the threshold is taxed, not the total, yeah, not the total. For a married couple, any asset valued over 600,000 are taxable on that year. So this is like threshold becomes double, yeah. For so the lawyers know and understand, and they can take into account. Please seek professional tax planning advice if any tax is an issue, because first article they started as a tax advisor. Like I don't think they exist now. So what is saying that these matters are so delicate, one needs to have a proper professional advice. So let me Adherence to Sharia, after knowing the Sharia law and knowing the intestacy law, and there are so many interwoven issues here in UK. So how we can treat Sharia law through the British law? Yeah, adherence to Sharia principles on the state distribution is the our objective. Legally should be our objective should be legally valid also. So protection of the rights of beneficiaries, especially young children, mitigation or elimination of any inheritance tax liability. So how to mitigate or minimize the tax liabilities, inheritance. So in Islamic, so far we have learned that Islamic law of inheritance is clearly defined in Quran and Sunnah. UK inheritance law tax is also clearly defined by legislation. Both systems can be at a complete odds with each other if the situation is not taken care by the professional advice. Carefully prepared Islamic wills and trusts can ensure an Islamic distribution of estate as well as a drastic, if not total, elimination of tax liability. So it's like a tax advice issue, yeah. Uh, with Sharia, solution applies Sharia in harmony with UK. And inheritance tax solution is compliant with inland revenue principles and approved by the Islamic authorities. So I'll tell you the various solicitors who get in touch with me, and they have Sharia like panel advising them, yeah, to see the validity. And one of the questions you pose that who knows who's gonna survive or who is gonna die. So in a will they make it in a wording which will be determined at the time of the death. Yeah. So that general will that I wish my estate to be divided according to the Islamic Sharia among my heirs, and that is sufficient. And the executor, the will in charge person, will find out who is surviving and how much is their share, and that he can determine it. Yeah. Okay. So nearly okay. So the, the both laws you have understood it clearly, but and they can be at odd. Like for instance, 50% right of spouse and right of lifelong residency for spouse, and then so only Islamic will can come into force after both have died. So there are some other solution like putting things in the assets and things like that. So you will be happy to learn that I mean, if you type Islamic wills, you will get list of like 50 solicitors. Yeah, every locality, everywhere where there is a Muslim concentrations, there will be uh, there are like a group of Muslims and non-Muslim solicitors, which they deal it as a legal and tax mitigation advice. So, and the Sharia bit is a very small bit, yeah, small bit. I mean, you just have to express your last will and last letter of wishes that you want Sharia to be point of reference in the distribution. Yeah. So this is East London Mosque has this brown one has been on I taken from their website. Yeah, I know. So Islamic wills with a local solicitor, the East London Mosque has introduced as an extra extended service that will writing service can now be available at East London Mosque and London Muslim Center. Yeah, and they have regular surgeries. You can make appointment and get a proper advice for yourself. So in multi languages, okay. But you know, for today's lesson purposes, if you just download this I will app, Islamic Inheritance app, and there are many apps, and there are many spreadsheets also on the website on the internet. So quick and easy Islamic inheritance calculator is there because it's a matter of calculation and taking other delicacies. So the more accurate information you put, the more accurate answer you get. And there are like dedicated software also. I have on my app There are other Arabic apps also, Warasa or something like that on my iPad. I sometimes just verify the things which I do. So let us recoup what we learned today. First of all, in Quranic word is called taraka. Taraka in Arabic, Urdu Arabic word is taraka. In English is like a succession, inheritance, estate planning, intestacy, and will writing and things like that. Yeah, all these words are there uh, to describe the inheritance tax. Yeah, inheritance or the bequest. Yeah, I think I should write the bequest word. So any things given. I mean, I really was looking at the lawyer's explanation of it, and I found a Hindu lawyer uh, from India because in India still the Sharia law is enforced through courts. So many Muslims and non-Muslims write about it, and the Muslim personal law means marriage, divorce, and inheritance matters. So these three matters are still determined according to Sharia in India, Southeast Asia, because 1937, since 1937, the Sharia Act has uh, been enforced to that Muslim communities in their personal life they are entitled and they will be their Sharia will be taken into account automatically, like in intestacy law here in UK. In India, it is the Islamic law which is there. So I found a Hindu lawyer really explaining that anything, any settlement done between heirs and the head of the family during lifetime is not a matter of inheritance. Many confusion exists here. Yeah? So any gift or asset given to offspring or relatives during lifetime is a matter of gift. It does not come under this law. The Sharia law of inheritance and will only come after someone has passed away. And this Quranic ayah, Surah Nisa, ayat number 11 and 12, deal only that once somebody has died, their assets has passed to the heirs according to the law of Sharia. Sharia dictates that this should be done like this. If you do it, it's fair. If you don't do it, you will be held responsible for not obeying the commandment of Allah. And there is a dire warning there. And at the end, it says that who is more important to you, sons and daughters, and this is different in different cultures. So don't try to make an absolute thing, and don't try to uh, think it about as a matter of emotional things. These are like long-term biological determinants, cultural, biological, cultural, Sharia, and moral, and other determinants which determines all these rights. Yeah? I mean, even in Canada and UK, there are some among the Hindus and like Sikhs. There has been some many wills which really deprive the woman of any share. And there has been some wills where the women are given equal shares. Yeah. So, and the courts, UK and North American courts have to deal with these things, and they are dealing with it. But generally, there is a room that if you leave the letter of, you know, last will and letter, and you appoint someone to execute your letter, the court will enforce your wishes according to the British law, just adjusting the taxes and other things. Yeah. So lifetime settlement is a gift, and there are other laws prevailing gift that Rasulullah said you should be equal among your children and things like that. But it's not necessarily just a requirement that some children may need more asset than less, yeah, than other, depending their education and the economic situation. So in a gift, in the lifetime gift giving, you are recommended to observe the equality, but not necessarily you can take into consideration their need and their relative ability. So the Islamic law of inheritance only comes after the death. And anybody who writes a will which violates Sharia, it will be like a sinful. It's like giving wasiya to not to obey the Sharia. Yeah, subject to, of course, local law and the intestacy law, whatever is there. So in last 40 years, I have dealt so many inheritance issues, and the latency people leave it until so long that the ground reality has changed and a relative situation has changed, and it's nearly impossible to distribute anything. Yeah, so uh, it is advised that I first of all get a Sharia view from the Sharia scholar, and then get a proper advice from a will expert. And there are numerous of them in East London, West London, and through Islamic, Islamic Center, and in Birmingham, this I will solicitors, which I'm not advertising for any of them. It's just a point of reference. In every city, there are many. Yeah. So I hope that I have given you a bird eye view, and you can further explore more. And if you are interested in this, Ibrahim College does run a specific course, multi lecture course organized by Maulana Ashraf Ali Saab, Maulana Ashrafuz Zaman Saab, uh, to just know all the step-by-step rules and regulation. And I can give you summary at the end of today in terms of charts and things like that, but they don't make sense to you. But the literature, English and Arabic, is immense, because this science of inheritance is very precise, very concise, very much simple also to understand. Uh, the example here were very simple, but there are complex examples. If you like, I can give you some copy of fatwas which I have issued, and I will wait for your questions. That if you pose me some challenging questions, even the questions come to us here from Bangladesh, from Pakistan, from India, although they have there, but because of the UK connection, they also sometimes get. And sometimes they ask to balance some certain other realities which we try to accommodate within the Sharia. As the British legal system is flexible, so is the Sharia also. Yeah, I'm hinting you that if you want to equate between the share of husband and wife, or you want to equate between the share of female and male, there could be some other ways of doing it, because Sharia has given as a general guidance and general rule, but relative rights can be swapped and given. So in each fiqh, every fiqh book, there is something called Kitabus Sulh. Sulh means settlement. So coming to an amicable agreement among the heirs is another way of like addressing everyone's need, and everybody being satisfied. Okay, let me just deal with your two questions which is on the screen. Are there exceptions to the rules or consideration of personal circumstances? For example, if husband and wife have a difficult or strange relations, or if husband does not fulfill his duties as a breadwinner, and wife carries the main financial burden of the family. Yeah, yeah, there are. So what I say that all this, in UK, both husband and wife are sometimes both working. In London, hardly there are young couples who both are not working. Yeah, so then their equity in the household is different. Yeah, if both are working, then the situation is different, and it should be sorted out. And then they're really, so as it's like a company, limited company. If you put both of them putting, they have 50-50 shares. Suppose, yeah. Uh, so the household, if it's not just husband earning, her wife is also earning and contributing, and not just the cash contribution, but contribution in kind also. So these things should be adjusted according to the British culture, British law of the land, and British thing. So there are exceptions. The question is very rightly that these rules are not really absolute rules. These are as a given culture when the man is breadwinner. But if man is not fulfilling their duty, his wife is breadwinner, then these things will be different. Yeah. So the next question is that what about, apart from big assets and cash, what about small objects? So I think, because whatever belong to the person who has passed away, it is a uh, subject of this Warasat law. So it will be point of prudent and taqwa to each and every belonging of deceased person should be put in equity. Yeah, and they should be distributed according to the Sharia, unless the heirs among themselves agree very, very happily afterwards that I don't mind you take this thing or that thing. Yeah. So the small objects people don't mind much, but it should not be taken as a emotional attachment and things like that. You can take it, but with the agreement of the rest of the persons, small objects. But if it is possible, you can put a financial value, and any any specific object someone is taking could be drawing on their account of the inheritance share. Yeah. So how are the precious metals jewelry distributed? Does they have to be sold first and then distributed, as you cannot slice gold Bitcoin into 5 pieces, etc. Yeah. So the precious metal and jewelry can be taken official valuation from a jeweler, and then once we convert them into cash in terms of like just accounting, then once each cash allocation is done, then because there will be individual priced items, so that they can, based on their allocated uh, account, they can draw from the thing. So they do not have to sell it, but they have to put a price tag on each and every jewelry and things, and then settle with each other. And whatever is like, if you don't have to cut a necklace or something, then you can settle in cash. So offset the others and compensate by giving the cash to other people. Yeah.